Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Beyond the Frame Live. My name is Dottie San Martin, and today we have a show that is really going to be an exciting show for you. We have the honor of having Marcus Baskerville. He is the head brewer and co-founder of Weathered Souls Brewing Company in San Antonio, Texas. Hello, Marcus. Thank you for
Hi,
coming.
hi, Dottie. Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Well, we're really excited. You know, you are making really great things happen where you are. I know it's hard work, but you are really making some things happen there at Weathered Souls. But I understand that you didn't start out as a brewer. You went from banking to brewing. Am I correct? Tell
Yes,
us
ma'am.
about that. How did you get into this brewing world?
Yeah, I got into actually brewing out of competition. I was working for Citibank at the time in California originally, and my brother had got like the Mr. Beer kit for Christmas, and the Mr. Beer kit came out horrible. So it was one of those things. Well, I could brew a better beer than you. So yeah, the first couple of beers we actually went ahead and did together. Didn't really come out too good, not really palatable. And then I moved to San Antonio. Upon moving to San Antonio, the first week I was here, I ended up getting in a car accident. And what I ended up doing with the money that I received from the accident was upgrading my home brewing equipment. I was out here bored, didn't really know anybody,
Interesting.
that type of thing. And so went ahead and upgraded my brewing equipment and decided to start pursuing home brewing as a hobby passion at the time. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into originally into the whole brewing thing.
And you loved it. So I am assuming you transitioned completely out of that banking world and
Um, so the first few beers that I did here weren't that great. And so there was actually a point where I actually almost stopped brewing. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, convinced me to go ahead and to continue. Basically, you spent all of that money on that equipment. You better not quit. Keep it up, and then see what happens from there. So this was even a few years later. I was still working at Citibank and home brewing. Beer started to get a lot better, and I started to bring my beer to local bars, restaurants, breweries, and stuff like that to let them try my beer. So one brewery really enjoyed the product that I was putting out and ended up letting me do a tap takeover at their brewery,
oh,
which had an astounding amount of support. And so basically at that point, I kind of knew that I could get into the whole brewing industry. So I took a part time job took the part-time job with the brewing company that I had to take over for. And in the course of the year that I worked there, I kind of learned the do's and don'ts, but more so the don'ts. And I wasn't really happy in the position that I was in. At that point, especially if I'm going to have a whole separate job on top of being a full-time fraud manager for Citibank and I'm working anywhere between 35 to 40 hours, like I'm going to want to do what I want to do. And I didn't have the ability to do that, which is pretty standard for the brewing industry, but it's not what I wanted. So I went ahead and quit. And in the process of quitting, somebody that I became friends with over time, we were out drinking one day, and I was like, "When are we going to open a brewery?" And he was like, "I've been waiting for you to ask me that." And so that's how Weathered Souls came about.
amazing. So it definitely paid off for you to get out of what was on your mind and throw it out there. What's the worst that can happen? And say, no, I don't think that's a good idea. But for you, it really paid off, and you got to going down this road.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, as I shared with you earlier, when I started, I heard your story. I believe it was on CBS this morning, or perhaps it was a local
Mm-hmm.
show. And I started really looking at Weathered Souls and you. And I saw something on your website, and I want to read what it said because I really feel that you're on to something with this. And I think that our viewers um, would appreciate the reasoning behind what you have as your philosophy. It says, we have several old school philosophies about life and business. And one driving force is our philosophy that if beer is good enough, folks will find out. So we don't pay for advertising. We rely on word of mouth, just like my dad. It takes longer to grow our business, but it gives us a lot of satisfaction knowing that we succeed because folks care about us and our beer. I think that's really, really interesting, Marcus, to hear that. And part of it is, today's younger generation, the Gen Zers, the younger millennials, they really, that speaks to them. They are more compelled by that word of mouth advertising than they are something that they read on a billboard. We recently had a gentleman from Voxburner, which is a youth insights platform in London, England, that was talking to us about that younger generation and how, that word of mouth advertising is so valuable, so compelling for them. But he also spoke to us about the fact that when you can align your brand with a cause that is important to you and your followers, that also speaks volumes to today's younger generation. And that is absolutely spot on what you and Weathered Souls Brewing Company did. You started an initiative right in the middle of a pandemic, no less, when a lot of people were trying to probably figure out where their next month's rent was coming from. You had a totally different outlook. You were thinking of how you could help others. And I think that that's so admirable of you to do that. But you actually wanted to do something that was going to make a difference. And so you had this really burning desire to help others and find a way to support something that was very near and dear to you, and that's equality and inclusion. And your mission, from what I understand, was to raise awareness and education about systemic racism. So that's kind of how your Black is Beautiful initiative was born. Can you tell us a little bit about that initiative? What it is?
Yeah, definitely. So the Black is Beautiful initiative was kind of a catalyst of some of the things that were going on based on last year in the country. And we're at such a prolific point in history, pretty much civil rights 2.0. And we look at a lot of the murders that were happening by the hands of the police. So we look at George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and the multiple others that have been affected. And honestly, I was on my way to Dallas listening to The Breakfast Club, which is a morning show. And they were talking to Breonna Taylor's mom about the course of actions of her finding out how her daughter was murdered. Being that I'm raising two young daughters myself, the conversation literally brought me to tears. You look at the certain situations where I've had friends, even myself, that has dealt with racial discrimination and police brutality and different things like that. And I mean, it can hit home at any point. So being said that, then on the way home, I got it from listening to a lot of the podcasts that were dealing with the protests and stuff that were going on as well. I felt bad because for me, we're in peak COVID. I was very serious about COVID. We didn't have anybody in our house from March all the way up into mid-December.
Yes.
So we were very serious about COVID, very serious about protecting our children, and me coming home, taking my clothes off in the garage because the wife is working from home and different things like that. And so I wasn't going out to a protest, masked up or not. I was not going to a protest. And so I felt bad. And I looked at, well, what if my daughters look at this point in 2020 and they're like, well, what was daddy doing at this time? Was he out fighting? Was he out helping? And, I look at the history of my parents. My grandma, she's 93 years old. She's been through the whole phase of not being able to drink from the same fountain as a white person. She's been on you can't sit next to a white person on the bus, and different things like that. I mean, my dad, the same thing. When my dad was in elementary school, he couldn't use the same bathroom as a white person or anything like that. And so, you look at those things and those things sit with you over the course of generations. And so it felt heavy on me that I had to go ahead and do something. So originally I was going to do like a standalone beer release, name it Black is Beautiful, and donate some of the money locally. But I was having a conversation with a friend up in Austin and talking about race, Trump, relationships, different things like that. And I sent him a mock-up of the label the next day after our conversation. And he was like, you know what? I would understand if you don't want to, but you should turn this into a collaboration. And I was like, you know what, Jeff, you're right. Like, that's a wonderful idea. So over the next 24 hours, kind of formulated a mission statement, formulated a plan. You know, we look at the brewing industry, and the brewing industry is 99% Caucasian. So being said that, you have to definitely tread lightly in the fact of dealing with your peers, dealing with your customer base. Our customer base is 90% Caucasian. So being said that, you're creating something called Black is Beautiful and asking people to donate money in support of social justice. I mean, you have to tread lightly. So being said that, worked on the mission statement, the plan for the next 24 hours. And then we launched it June 1st, that Monday. And what Black is Beautiful is a call. It was a call to all of the breweries in the United States, but it transcended past that to collaborate on a stout recipe that was created here at San Antonio, and then brew that stout and donate 100% of those proceeds to organizations, charities, foundations that support equality, inclusion, and social justice reform. So far, we've had about 1,240 breweries involve themselves, over 25 countries in all 50 states. So, I mean, it's a huge number as far as the breweries that did join, definitely so. But there are 8,500 breweries in the United States. So we look at those numbers, yeah, and it's, you know, it's a decent amount, but definitely could have been more. But it shows that the brewing industry is definitely heading in the right direction of trying to make change, trying to create diversity within the industry and trying to be inclusive. And so it's definitely been a ride so far over the course of the last year. We started involving other distilleries, wineries. There's been chocolatiers involved, coffee companies. So it's definitely has grown from just the overall scout recipe from the jump.
Absolutely. And Marcus, how do you feel that this initiative has affected Weathered Souls? Do you actually have people coming in and say, hey, I heard about what you're doing? Do you feel that it's had an impact on Weathered Souls?
Oh, it's definitely had an impact. We've seen all types of people coming from all over the United States coming in here and just wanting to try Black is Beautiful from the originator. Or, hey, you know, we've seen this interview or that interview or heard this podcast, and we wanted to come check you guys out. I even found out that I had family in San Antonio that I never even knew I had, based off of one of my dads. He didn't even know that he had a first cousin in Virginia, and this cousin seen the one of the interviews that I did on CNN and reached out to his niece that lives here in San Antonio. And it turns out we're like actual first cousins and everything. Goodness. So yeah, never even knew. So it's definitely been some positive aspects to the initiative, some positive aspects to a lot of the highlights and media attention and different things like that it's received.
So let me ask you this, what impact has this had on you?
For me, it's made me a lot more busy. But on that,
yes, you said your day started at 4:30 this morning.
Yeah,
so.
But on the other end of that, I think it's made me a lot more humble, brought a little more humility into my life, and definitely has made me more empathetic, in the sense that I've always been one of those people that generally don't care what's going on in somebody else's life if it doesn't physically affect my own. But going through this initiative and the impact and hearing all the stories of how it's been beneficial and where the money has gone and donated to, just the amount of people that have reached out in support has definitely changed that aspect for me.
Yes. And you know, a lot of that is staying local. I understand. I mean, it's just it's the reach is far spread. It's really it's been an amazing thing. Let me ask you this. You know, we have, as I said, we found in, you know, the statistics show us that the younger generation is looking for businesses and brands that do have a cause that they support, and they, you know, try to elevate that in their brand. What do you feel like how would you reply to someone saying one person can't make a difference? How would you reply?
I would say they're full of SHIT, but You know, it's obviously dealing with that type of thing. It's tough for one person to make a change. And even then, I had help. I mean, my sales manager, Kimberly, was a big help in making sure everything stayed organized for me. You know, even just the mental support from my family and wife and getting through this, because it was a lot. Um, but outside of that, you know, at the end of the day, all it takes is one person to make change. And so anybody that has a rebuttal for that, they're full of it. People, you know, if they have their heart set in the right place, can definitely make changes in the things that they want to make changes in.
And what message do you have for businesses that do want to get involved? They do want to find a cause and stand behind it and make a difference. What do you recommend they do to just get started? To
Do
take
it.
and just
Just do it. Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, you
Okay.
know, at the end of the day, a lot of people, you know, we want to do this and want to do that. This is like a conversation that I have with my wife all the time. She's one of those individuals that want to do so much, but then doesn't physically make the active state of actually doing it. And so it's just a matter of actually just making that effort and getting out there. If you want to go ahead and get involved in DEI, if you want to go ahead and get involved in social justice reform or whatever, you know, type of organization you want to get involved into, stop talking about it and just be about it and get out there and do the work and put forth the effort, and it will definitely pay out.
So, Marcus, one of the things that you had mentioned is that you wanted your children to look back and realize what you had done and that you wanted to be able to make a difference. What story do you hope that your children do tell?
I hope that they see that their dad cares and made an effort to make a difference. And I hope that they look back at this point in history and when they are like, well, what was daddy doing? Oh, daddy actually made a physical difference. Daddy made some change and he actually tried to go out there and make a difference. That's definitely the most important thing coming from that. But also the aspect of hard work. That's something that I've always tried to show my children, even at 4 and 2. You know, daddy works hard for them. And, you know, at the end of the day, hopefully this is something that ends up being theirs. So being said that, it's just a matter of them being proud in the act of me trying to be involved and trying to get things done. You know, it's funny. I ended up getting Wine Enthusiast 40 under 40 last year, top tastemakers in the world, and
Cool.
different couple little accolades like San Antonio's Guy to Know and different things like that. And so me and the wife were talking about it, and then you tell one of the kids, and they're just like, oh. And it's like, you don't get it just yet. But hopefully,
give them
hopefully
time.
you'll be proud. Yeah, hopefully you'll be
Give 'em
proud of
time.
daddy in a good 10 years or so. We'll see.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate, I know how busy your day, you shared just a little bit about your day started early and you're working on a batch of beer. And so you wear many, many hats, I understand. And I appreciate the fact that you took time out of your day to day to, you know, I feel like that there's a lot of people that are watching our show today that might be really passionate about something and wanting to try to make a difference and make things better about whatever it is in life right now. And there's certainly a lot of things that we can improve upon today. And you know, as you said, having the courage to take that step to try to make a difference has a lot of impact on a lot of people, which is exactly what you've shared with us today. That's really good. What final thought or thoughts would you like to leave our viewers with about listening to your heart and following that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the most important thing. I feel like a lot of people aren't going to accomplish things if they just don't go out there and get it. You can always sit there and think about it. You can always sit there and say, I want to, but it's the actions that are going to actually dictate who you are as a person. So, you know, you want people to put their best effort forward, to put their best foot forward and try to do the things that they can do to support. We're in all a tough spot right now dealing with COVID, especially the service industry and different things like that. So anybody that can go ahead and help them, their next brethren out to try to stay ahead or even stay afloat, I mean, they're going to be more than well appreciated for what they're doing. We're in a time in America where everybody should be together. There shouldn't be any differences, shouldn't be any quarrels. It should be everybody working together to kind of get out the situations that we're in.
Yes, for sure. Well, you know, I shared with you earlier, we as an industry, we're in the bowling industry, and we all know that bowling and beer goes hand in hand. But you have a phrase that I recently ran across when I was looking at your website. It says, good beer brings friends together. Great beer brings everyone together." I like that. And we know that bowling and beer go hand in hand. So we welcome everybody into the centers, and we know what they're going to have in their hand, or at least the majority of them. So anyway, well, I certainly appreciate you being with us today. Viewers, I hope that you will tune in next Tuesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And we're going to host Ashley Carranza, Director of Business at Rancho Bowl in Santa Maria, California. And we're going to tune in to see if the gold rush is actually back in California. So definitely a show that you'll want to tune in for. Marcus, I thoroughly have enjoyed your show. Having you as our guest here was quite a pleasure. And I hope you can go back to your brew that you're brewing right now. And I look forward to other great things happening at Weathered Souls.
Thank you
so
much. All right.